We have been gifted with a soul who chose to awaken.
Yes, and I think in general, for women to learn more about the achievements other women had in their lives and brought to the world, that would be the knowledge and maybe learning about role models. So that's important.
We need to be flexible when barriers come, and they will. We need to be able to work around the barriers.
They're almost endless. We're living in a very masculine framed world. I think the world is very much like that. Everything was built for that masculine way of being. And it's time to actually change the build of all of that and be okay with it.
Males and females, we're all built very differently. So it's about understanding each other and how each other works.
Inspire, innovate, ignite. Conversations that count. Be inspired by expert panelists who share innovative self-empowerment tips that will enrich your life.
Hello and welcome to the Sacred Dew panel discussions. We've got some beautiful ladies here that are going to be in conversation with me, and we're going to talk about women empowering women. And this is a topic I'm very passionate about, and I work it in my business. It's part of what I do in my own work. And to start off with now, what I'm going to do is allow everybody just to give a quick introduction about themselves, who they are, where they are, and really quickly what you do. Beverly, let's have you. Hey.
Hi, Beverly Akers. I'm here in Vancouver, BC, Canada. That's when in my red and white, it's Canada Day today. I'm here, not out there. I teach a thing I call Rhythm of Your Life. I'm midwifing people back into the next second and third trimesters of their way of being within this lifetime. And that's a whole holistic health based on all limbs of yoga and everything that will take us back into rhythm of being. And I'm sure we'll cover more of it later, but that's the basics of what I do. So thank you, Julie. Wonderful to be here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and welcome back. Kim.
My name is Kim Harms. I've just been around the block in life and professionally. I was the first woman president of the Minnesota Dental Association. In fact, the first woman president of the whole upper Midwest in the US. So I've certainly had to be a pioneer for women in that area. I also was a national spokesperson for the American Dental Association for crisis situations. I've also lost my mother and son to suicide and my husband to a broken heart. And now I work helping women, widows in particular, and other women in the fourth quarter of their lives prepare themselves for that fourth quarter, to prepare their children for success after they die.
Beautiful, beautiful. So Olga.
Hi, I'm a holistic counselor and psychotherapist. I help dedicated professionals to overcome and address anxiety, which sometimes can or cannot be linked to trauma. And I have background in adult social services, health and safety, representatives, and I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher as well.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much, and welcome. Anick, beautiful Anick.
Hey, Julie. Nice to see you. It's been a little while. And hi, Beverly. And nice to meet you, ladies. I'm Anick Patry. I'm French Canadian. I'm based in Coogee Beach in Sydney, Australia. And I help impact women in leadership and business to actually embody their highest lucrative joy and to own their creative power so that they can have more fun creating and make more money and being more themselves, which is super important. And I love what I do. I've written a book called Visionary, and I've done a TEDx talk. And I love, love, love empowering women. I think we all need, and it's so important to be in our power, in our juju, creating magic.
Beautiful. Love it. I believe we're all on the same page here. And just a very brief introduction of me. I've long been in the natural therapies world. I'm a clinical aromatherapist. I'm an astrologer. I am a practicing witch and I'm an artist. And I've been doing these things for many years, 3 decades minimum. And my thing is to lead women into rising unapologetically in their truth, in their divine essence of being, and bringing all of my tools in to help them with that. So we are all on the same page. And this is the beautiful thing about what we do, is we're all doing different things, and it can all be brought together to create this incredible toolbox for women to work with. And of course, men can tap into it if they wish to. But let's get stuck into this, because this is a huge topic for me. And so let's get stuck into it. So the first question is, what changes do we need to have made for women to be empowered? And this alone, this question could go on for a long time. So let's keep our answers succinct so we can get through them all. Okay, so Olga, would you like to start first, or am I putting you in the being your first panel?
There are many things that can be done, isn't it? So maybe I'll just focus on the things that I come across in my practice and maybe from my work life. So if we are talking about institutional settings, it can mean so many different things. Again, family can be seen as institutional, isn't it? And workplace in itself. As women are working, so I think it's important that we look at what is specific to women. For example, women can go through periods, menopause, obviously being pregnant. So those are the things that can be made easier for people, maybe with flexible working. That would make it easier. And I think in general, for women to learn more about the achievements other women had in their lives and brought to the world, that would be a knowledge, and maybe learning about role models. So that's important. In my practice, it's important, anything to do with self-worth, self-respect, self-value, again, because I work with trauma, so sometimes people need time to overcome that, and that comes into place where people need to be supported through that time.
Thank you, Olga. Kim.
Yes, I think one of the first things we need to do is to really empower women to have that feeling that they can do things. And then when they come to barriers, and I'm 67 years old, and working in the dental profession back in the 70s, it was 90% men or even more. We need to be flexible when barriers come, and they will. We need to be able to work around the barriers. We need to be resilient so that one failure is not going to define us. We just find another way around. And one other thing I think that's important, we need to learn to be unoffendable. And what I mean by that is sometimes as we're working through a problem, we're working in an area, and for whatever reason, whether it's sexism or they just don't like us, somebody tries to put a barrier in front of us. If we allow ourselves to focus just on the issue at hand, how do I get this issue done, and try to put off the offense, become unoffendable, not allow us to get too bogged down in taking things personally, I think we can go a lot further. But I think we need to do that and learn to do that and make that a priority.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you, Kim. I often talk about being unapologetic in what we do. I always strive to do good, but there are some times when we have to stand in our power, and it may not be shown as being necessarily kind and compassionate, but I think that there is a place for us to speak our truth in a diplomatic way. And for me, education is key for everything. Yes, self-love, and with self-love, we gain self-worth, self-confidence, then we become magnetic, and then we can manifest. But first we have to acknowledge where we are with how we feel about ourselves, because there's always that inner healing to do. And if we don't do that, it's very hard to move forward from that. Beverly.
So changes that can be made for women to be empowered. They're almost endless. We're living in a very masculine framed world. So for me, part of what I focus on with the women that I work with are learning to be okay with letting go of working in a masculine energy world. And when I say masculine, I don't mean men, but the masculine 9 to 5. That's a sun cycle. That's not a moon cycle. That works with testosterone. It doesn't work with estrogen, progesterone. And we are so incredibly attuned to it that if we were to fall into a cycle of a 4-week period, we would start to come in tune with our creative force, our ability to be inwards, to be outwards. But instead, women are always trying to fit into that get up, work 9 to 5, even when you're super tired, when you have a period, when you're feeling off. And even after menopause, we're still in that cycle. And I think what women would find is a creative source of energy that would blow everybody out of the water. We're told to be kind to everybody else, but we're not being told to think of ourselves first and be kind to ourselves first. So if we're continually changing to not offend everybody under the guidepost that is the present day, women will never have a voice that comes from their heart. Their voice will always be diminished. And I think that's one of the big changes. Yes, you can be nice about what you're saying, but your voice counts and matters first. And our voices have been diminished, and we need to be able to sing, to shout, to be angry, to laugh as loud as we want, to say the things that matter to us without fear that we're going to be offensive to somebody else before ourselves.
Yeah. And we do live in a very masculine, patriarchal world. Every time women step up and fight for their rights, something happens where they try to squash them. And it's not always men that do that. It's just that very strong masculine patriarchal way. My desire is to see that crushed so that it can be rebuilt with more balance, because we need both. Anick.
All right. Yeah, that's so interesting to listen to the view of everyone. I would say that it's not like institutions, societal changes. We are badasses. We have been gifted with a soul chose to awaken. We have hope in our hearts. We are the ones showing the way, leading the way, cutting the trees in the forest. So then there's a path for others to walk into that path. And by being the example, by being inspiring, by learning the basics and teaching the basics, which is self-care, self-leadership, self-love, self-expression, and by us embodying that. And the only way to be an example is by actually living it, breathing it, doing it, being it. That's how we're going to have a bigger impact. And it has a ripple effect on the people around us, on our clients. If you have a large audience, if you work in an organization, or if you're visible online, you have a community online, we are the one who are going to influence and have an impact on creating changes in institutions and society. By us following our passion, following our heart, and being ourselves. And it takes courage. It's not easy. I'm still peeling onion every day. The little one shows up, and the past traumas and the this and the that, and I still get triggered every now and again. But I have tools, and I choose love because I know that my energy matters and who I am matters, and I influence. I'm a leader. I'm in the leader seat. And that's what I chose in this lifetime. That's how I see we can change slowly, bits by bits, institution by being feminine. Now I can feel I'm on a roll. I'm channeling. I'm like, ooh.
So,
yeah.
which is fabulous. Yes. And I think our next question is going to be really important. And just to bring everything together, for me, it's about first the change has to come within ourselves. When we grow into that and we are doing it, we create a ripple effect by building that community of women, teaching them or leading them into that self-love, self-growth, self-confidence, and loving themselves and trusting themselves and being in their truth, which is so important. And we have to get there to that space before we can start making changes. So acknowledgement is really powerful when we acknowledge where we are. And for me, again, males and females, we're all built very differently. So it's about understanding each other and how each other works. And then educating, because our whole school systems, everything are very masculine based. How do we feel? Getting them to understand, because it's so ingrained in them. Kim, what would you like to say on that?
A lot on that one. I think the most powerful position as women we're in, of course, is as mothers. And I say that because my husband, I got married in 1974, and he was a wonderful husband, but he was from a generation that was raised at women, I think, we'll let you be empowered. We'll let you go out and get those jobs. When it comes to the stuff at home, I'm not doing anything more. I'm not going to do any of that. But you go ahead and have the job, and then I'm sure you can take care of the other things. He was malleable. I did train him over 44 years. He got better. But my son-in-laws, I've had the wonderful privilege of having two son-in-laws that were trained by amazing mothers to accept the responsibilities, some home responsibilities, to accept a partnership in the marriage situation. I'm talking about men and women in marriage, and of course in business it's different, but they are in business, they're very respectful of women too. But both of my daughters have husbands that are very helpful around the house. They see their marriage as a partnership. And about 6 months ago, one of my son-in-laws, my daughter and son-in-law, got together and decided that she made more money than he did. So he's staying home now with the kids and taking over the home responsibilities. So I think that the best thing we can do as mothers, train our sons to be self-sufficient, train them how to wash their laundry, clean up after themselves, do all those household chores, and train them to be respectful to women. And then, of course, that follows through the educational system. But as our mothers have the most power in that particular part.
Can I just share something too that I was a bit mortified with when I discovered that some schools here are now teaching hygiene, especially with young boys, and how to shave and how to not smell in school. And I was a little bit shocked, because I personally believe that should come from the home. And I felt that it was a little bit sad that was happening, where teenage boys had to be taught how to shave and do things like that in school. Because I know that a lot of parents are very busy. I don't know, I have a lot to say about that. So I'm curious as well, because education, and I don't use the word training so much, but educating them and teaching them what they need to do, even from the most basic things. Yeah. Olga.
I'll just follow on a little bit from what Kim said, but from slightly different angle, because Kim focused on mothers, whereas I'll probably mention fathers. I think it's quite important in terms of bringing up boys and girls, but it's fathers and brothers and grandfathers. They're the ones that can become allies from the time that girls are brought up. So they learn how to know their strength, their value. They can use their voice to speak up and say what they like and what they don't. It's interesting because I worked with clients who sometimes don't know what they like and what they don't for various reasons, which is interesting. So it starts from the family, where the fathers mainly encourage the girls to be educated. The grown-ups, they provide advocacy from that point, where they provide resources, education, and opportunities for girls to be confident and happy with themselves. And of course, the voice or ability to speak up obviously grows stronger and stronger, but it starts from the family, it starts from the childhood.
Anick?
I really love what's been shared, because yeah, it's the parents, like the mothers, the fathers, but if they haven't been educated themselves, you know what I mean? It's like it's a cycle. I'm not surprised that in school, I think it's wonderful that some schools have this openness to educate on hygiene. I think that's wonderful. Anyway, any kind of avenues. And it's not just hygiene, it's like how to treat themselves, like how to self-care and self-love and self-respect themselves as men. So therefore, they'll be able to honor and treat women as a goddess. I worship them and honor them and respect them. But it starts like all of us, like whether we're a man or a woman, it really starts within. But if some of us never had any form of education, which is these days with the online world, we are so blessed. There's so much information out there. You know what I mean? There's so much information.
Beverly.
I'm going to veer off a bit because I'm not a parent. So I'm going to go to the things that I do know. I will say I feel as if I do midwife and mother many beings in my world that I might have known for many lifetimes before. Young men, young women are really needing something, but they also need elders who understand themselves. And right now, they don't have elders surrounding them who have been taught how to care for themselves. There's nothing in the Hindu pantheon that does not have the masculine and feminine. So many cultures around, it's like there is a masculine framework of following. And in the Hindu pantheon, in Bharat, it's always Saraswati and Brahman. It's Vishnu and Lakshmi. It's Shiva and Shakti, Shiva, Durga, Shiva, Kali. It's always the pair because you cannot have one without the other. For the most part, you need a male tree and a female tree for fruit to be produced. You need the sun, you need the moon, you need day, you need night. We always need that balance. So I think a very important framework is to invite men in to explore who they are. The people who are already fathers or who have been fathers and their sons are grown, for them to take on a mantle of this eldership of saying, what have I learned? What have I seen? What has worked? What has not worked? For women to say the same, for women to sit down with men and say, this is what I've experienced. I've never said it, but here it is. There's so many reasons, but in this whole pantheon, so this one's Durga. Durga has 9 arms. She's slaying the demon, and she's slaying the demon because she rode up on a lion. She's so fierce. She rode up on a lion, exposing her ankle. And the demons were just so stunned with her beauty, they didn't notice how fierce she was, and she slayed them because her beauty distracted. So we're allowed to be beautiful. We're allowed to be fierce. We're allowed to be productive. And the masculine was meant to circle the fire, to protect us from the lions, so we could do all these amazing things that we're capable of doing. And we need to invite men in to be able to be fierce, be powerful, be protectors without us giving up. And wouldn't that be incredible?
Absolutely, Beverly. It's a massive topic, isn't it? There's so many layers and pathways that we could go down with this. But I really love what you shared there about the equality. So with the last 2 questions, how do you empower yourself and the women around you? And then what makes you a strong woman? What fulfills you? Anick.
Yeah, our intuition, using our intuition, how to empower yourself, using our hearts. When your heart is open, because it was a journey for me, I didn't have access to it because I was too much in the nervous system trauma for quite some time. I guess having a daily practice of tuning into consciousness, heart, soul, whether it's through meditation, walk in nature, a bubble bath, like brain waves, music on your head, dancing in your living room, like a daily practice. I tune into my heart 3 times a day. I'm practicing all of that, but it's really in the self-care, and it's not just bubble bath and chocolate in bed, or, you know what I mean? It's not like, but self-care is really tuning into the wisdom that lives inside your heart, inside your soul. So having a regular practice that works for you, not something that you're not aligned with, but really asking the question within yourself, like, what does my heart truly desire? What does my heart want to express today? And asking the question and doing your practice, and sharing that with others, sharing that in the way that feels aligned for you to share and influence other women. And it becomes an embodied practice, and it has ripple effect. You are an example. You're the one inspiring. So by you living it, you automatically empower other women. By you, being authentic, being real, you empower other women?
Thank you. Thank you, Anick. Olga.
I empower myself through education. I seem to like to study. And since sport has been a big part in my life, so I do like to exercise, whether it is yoga, swimming, or some special exercises that I do for myself. And of course, being connected to my culture, my family, because those ones, they come together, I don't separate them. And nature, that's important to me. In regards to my work, yes, I empower women by having them working through difficulties that they might be having, because most of the clients are usually women in therapy for various reasons. Yes, we work through whatever might be coming across. So I do focus on mind-body interconnection, how both influence each other and how can be in harmony. And in the past, of course, because I worked in women's environment, it was about empowering women to know about their rights in the workplace and doing something about it, really. So whether it is health and safety, or whether it is generically about them being educated and promoting themselves. But mainly the focus would have been about staying safe at work, whether it is lone working or making their work environment safe on an everyday basis. Yeah.
Thank you, Olga.
Yeah,
and I love that, because women knowing their rights in the workplace is very important. Beverly, you've got a minute.
I got a minute.
You've got a
Okay.
minute.
Empower myself. I do it through constantly digging into the rhythms that are mine, figuring out who it is, how I need to exist. That's my entire life's exploration, looking at the places where I've held myself back and helping myself push to those edges. And I do that with the women I work with. I encourage them to find their rhythms. They have their own unique individual rhythm within life, how they eat, how they sleep, how they move. And I think anybody who's feeling stronger, feeling healthier, feeling more themselves is much more capable of figuring out who they are, of connecting to the things that matter most to them. So concrete steps they can take are start with the easiest thing. It's not about going for the biggest thing or doing what everyone else is doing. It's do one small thing, whether it's move, whether it's eat something different, whether it's add something in, whether it's get rid of a friendship that's been sucking you dry. And how I empower women is to always show up and tell them how beautiful they are. I don't care if you're a stranger in a lineup. If you look gorgeous, if you have done something spectacular, I want to build you up.
That is beautiful. And I'm the same. I can't help myself. It comes out naturally. Kim, you've got a minute. Sorry.
Sorry, I was dinging. I'm old and I'm a survivor. And that's what I'm an old, resilient survivor. And I've, survived the suicide loss of my mother and my son, and the loss of my husband, and other major losses along the way. And what I learned is that you have to fight your way out of that grief pit. I've been down in the depths, barely breathe. You have to fight your way. It doesn't come naturally. It's not going to just happen. You have to fight your way out of the grief pit. And I think putting your mental health first is extremely important. I suffer from depression and I'm treated for it, and I will be treated for it for the rest of my life. And I'm so glad the treatments are out there. So be resilient and fight. Those are my recommendations.
I love it. And I'm going to say I'm 66 this year and I am not old. But I
got you by a couple of years. So
I have been through some very big challenges in my life, and the notes that I put were life experiences. That's how we become empowered. So I allow myself to feel all the feelings, because that which you resist will persist. So the more I feel into it and flow with it, the sooner I can come out of it. And that in itself is very empowering. I am a very strong woman, and it's through going through all of the challenges that has brought me to that place. And we can lead by example, all of us, which is what we do. And that's how we can create that beautiful ripple effect with women empowering themselves. We can guide them and give them the tools, but they have to empower themselves. And That was fabulous. Thank you very much for all of your sharing and your beautiful energy. It just gives me goosebumps.